You never know.
I was in the Olympic feeder system when I was a kid. I was training for the Olympics in badminton. So, yeah.
All right, so let's get going. According to our agenda, we have 3 issues to talk about. We can go back to the previous meeting, which was not concluded. Do you want to start with, going back to the meeting, we can review 2 documents. One is what the management of FilterSafe suggests to do. The other one, of course, is the budget, which is the end of the year now. We're coming towards the end of the year, but we should more or less agree on it. Where do you want to start, Alex and Harvey?
Well, I have one question. The question is regarding Jules, not to make comments here. He's been making comments for years. Why the change at present, or am I mistaken?
Because, really, I'm required to adhere to all points of the articles, which I'm trying to do very much, including change of my position and my young position. And we have, really, Jules' deal is very simple. He's an observer. And Jules knows how to reach us when he wants to, which he does. But, really, as an observer, if any of the directors wants to get his opinion, he's very welcome to butt in.
So, Itai, what I would say is, number one, Alex and I are thousands of miles away from the company, and Jules is in Israel. And as a result of that, over the years, he's had insights and comments, and he's has more board experience than I think anyone here. And these things have been very helpful to us in these meetings. Number two, I think if we're going to stop him from making comments, it should be a board vote decision, not a unilateral decision.
No. It can be a board decision. At the moment, the articles are stating very clearly what an observer position is. Now, we can change it if we want to. That's all right. And the board can make a decision about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
which, if you like, we can do it. Please send me a suggestion for board resolution, and we can do it for the future.
Well, I think we can just make an informal decision now by polling the 3 of us whether we want Jules to be able to make comments or not, as he's made for the past 8 years.
Well, if you want to open this subject, I'll butt in. I think Jules had been and still is very much connected to internal information of FilterSafe. He's being fed the wrong information sometimes about what's going on. Jules is communicating with behind my back on a lot of issues, including some comments which I don't think should be stated at all. And as a matter of fact, perhaps we should get Jules to sign an NDA with the board of FilterSafe.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that, and Jules, can decide for himself whether he wants to sign an NDA. But for exactly those reasons, that the company has been through a very traumatic period in the last year where things have not gone well, and we need to have a clear understanding of what's going on. And because Alex and I are 5, 6, 7,000 miles away, I think, regardless of whether we think there's some controversy or something like that associated with it, for the benefit of our decision-making process, it's fine to have these things, and you can rebut them if you don't think they're realistic or but up till now, I think Jules' input has been invaluable. Alex, I don't know what you think, so you can comment on that.
So hang on a second. I just want to say one thing. You're saying, Harvey, that you, as a director of FilterSafe for the last 10 years, do not understand and do not know what's going on in FilterSafe.
I didn't say that. You're saying that. That is 180 degrees different than what I said. I said there are certain things that prevent us from getting information because we're not on the ground in Israel. There are many things that are board level that we're not getting sufficient input. That input should be brought to the company, to the people on the board of directors, and that's not being done. It's being filtered from us. And so Jules brings an alternative view from that, and it's fine if you want to rebut it, but it's critical for us to hear opposing views and not just the single narrative of what's going on in the company. Because if you look back over the last year, we've had a very rough time. And the reality is not what the budget was, and things are different, and we need to hear the opposing views. I think Jules rang the alarm that there were issues and they were ignored earlier on. And if we paid better attention to that, I think we'd be in a better position today.
Okay. Alex will speak for himself, but I think Alex has been in the ins and outs of the company since he joined the company. Sometimes he was a little bit more removed, sometimes very much in things. And I wonder if Alex feels the same, that information is not being transferred to him.
I don't think that information is being hidden here. I think to Harvey's point that last year, the outcome of the year was, and this year is worse than what the company itself expected. And I think you're right in terms of Jules actually had a more pessimistic view, and that pessimistic view happened to be correct last year. So I think that perspective was useful. But I totally get Itai's point here. And this is Jules as an observer, he has a right to speak when he is asked, and I think that's totally appropriate in a board meeting. That if Jules has something to say, he can raise his hand. We can decide whether to call on him because we need the board meetings to be move along in a timely fashion, and we as the directors need to decide what we're going to focus our time on. And whatever Jules says, we'll always take it with whatever our wisdom and our own perspective, right? So we can use our own judgment, and if Jules says something that Itai doesn't agree upon, then that is something that we can always have a discussion around. That's totally fine. That's healthy for a board to have. But I think it is appropriate for us to be calling on Jules when we think it's a good time to seek his opinion, and having him raise his hand is, I think that's good protocol. So,
well, I just want to say Jules is listening to what we are saying, and I'll say that Jules, of course, has a very good insight to what's going on in the accounts of FilterSafe. I don't think he really understands very well the business side of it, and he's very good in commenting, and I welcome his comments usually on profit and loss and budgets and these sort of issues. He's very quick and probably a lot better than I am on saying things that he sees these sort of things much quicker than many of us. So I do appreciate this side. I just don't appreciate that Jules is fed information from the side and transferring it indirectly to both of you. And believe me, I know what's going on. Believe me, I do know what's going on. And I think this is not, I'll choose my words very carefully. I don't think it's very beneficial, and it's not constructive to the operations of the company.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Thank you. First of all, I never said that I understand anything about the company. Always when the technical and ballast water or other issues raised, you can check it in the minutes if there are minutes. I never interfere with that, and I always say I don't understand. And I have learned not to open my mouth if I'm not familiar and have the knowledge about the subject. That's one. About the contact that I have with my brother-in-law who did not work, and now does not work anymore at FilterSafe. I told you, I meet him, our wives are sisters, and I always contact with him. We're both shareholders, which at a certain stage even were material, and therefore involved in order to, let's say, help to understand what's going in the company. And all my discussions with any of you were always in favor of improving the situation of the company. When everything went well, you know exactly how passive I was, perhaps professional in certain areas. When everything, as a surprise, started going not well, of course, the level of I don't know how to call it, but the level of the reason why to be involved became higher. And that should be, and I hope is, in favor of the company. So anything I say may sound sometimes critical, but it is meant to simply, let's call it warn, or whatever you call it in a softer word, of what is going on and what I project. So that I do things behind your back and so on. I've talked to you often enough. I've talked to you very clearly about what I think about the management and the way the companies manage. You have taken the certain steps in that direction. And I think that if I would not have pressed so much, it may not have happened. So let's see in the coming year to what extent I was right or I was wrong. And I hope I'm wrong. But, and again, you know, I read what you're writing and I was asking myself whether we went back to a communist country or something like that, that I'm not allowed. For 8 or 9 years, I don't know already how long I've been talking. I've never insulted anybody. I really don't understand it.
Jules, excuse me. I have seen, and it didn't come from any of the people here, I know what you are writing to the board members in America. And I'll tell you what, I'm not happy with it.
Okay,
I'm
you
not
may
happy.
be happy. Okay. Listen, Itai, you may not be happy. If I write something, I believe that's correct. You can argue, you cannot agree, but I simply have the right to write what I really think. And I'm very...
That's all right.
I'm very sure what's going on in the company.
And you're entitled to your view. I don't think you really know what's going on in the company. I think you hear it from one person who doesn't really know how the company is going. And the things that you're telling my fellow board members sometimes are not 100% accurate.
Okay. And it is true, and maybe it is true. They are capable people of, how do you say, filtering about filtration, yes? Filtering the information I bring to them. And therefore, if they don't agree, okay, they'll tell me I don't agree. Or if it turns out that I was wrong, I apologize that I was wrong. I want to give you one example, Itai. You wrote today a paper, or you sent us a paper about the 5-year plan. If you look at the bullet on the second page, it says, and I don't have it in front of me, but it says that actually the company decided to drop the offer from Tenne. Okay? Can you bring it up?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what actually happened, no?
The company said that we don't want your offer of 50-something million?
No. The company, well, all right. We all know very well what's happened. And the company did not act maybe in the right way in order to secure this offer. And then it went away. You don't think this is correct?
Yes, I think it is. It is different. You phoned me one day and told me Tenne pulled its offer back. That's what you told me. If I read what is written on on the second page, the last bullet, it says something completely different. Read it.
Oh, okay. It's your opinion and you're entitled to
My
it.
opinion, it is listen, did you as a board decide not to accept the offer of Tenne?
For a long time. It took the board a long time to approve the offer.
That's different. It is a difference whether the board still did not approve it or that the board decided not to accept it.
Okay, you're right.
Different thing.
Okay. My wording is incorrect. I apologize.
Okay. So everybody can be wrong sometimes, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So perhaps I was here and there wrong, but I'm telling you, and I don't know who's in this meeting except for us, but I'm telling you that everything I did, and if it was contacts with board members or it was that I was becoming desperate for what was going on with the company. It was my humble opinion. Opinions.
Well, look, Jules, really, I think it's fruitless to get into this bond fight now. I think I know what's going on, you know what's going on, and definitely Alex and maybe Harvey as well. If we want to change the structure of the company, we can do it, okay? And we will have an opportunity to do it very soon when we'll be voting for new board members. And I think this will be the test case, you know. And also, if we want to change the position of the observers, that's fine. You know, we can discuss it. The board can discuss it and agree, yes or no. It will be simple voting according to the articles. The articles are guiding all the actions of FilterSafe. And, you know, when I insisted on the board approving me going back to be managing director or CEO, it's because of the articles. You know, I can't decide it on my own. I need Harvey and Alex to agree that this is the right way to go. And if they don't agree, okay, then, you know, there's a mechanism to decide all these issues. And that's my view, and
Okay.
I'm not going to change it.
Okay. Let's try and summarize this part. Everybody is making mistakes. If we did something that was wrong and we have wrong information, I apologize. If I did it, it was always based on the belief that what I said or wrote was correct. And whatever I did was because of our common interest in the company. And with my experience, I have some remarks to make, which are not always pleasant to hear, but I'm an Israeli, you know, I'm not Canadian, I'm not from the United States. I live here for 56 years and I've become an Israeli and say and write what I think and not go around the bush. So that's all I can say.
Jules, you have nothing to apologize about. I think anything that adds value to the conversation and helps us make better decisions, you help us to question things that go on, and we ponder them, and whether they're right or wrong, we debate them, and we make better decisions. And to me, that's the important thing. That's why we have a board, is to help the company make better decisions, and that's it. And that's why I'm for this.
I fully agree with what Harvey said. It's very true. You know, we are all here to help the company.
Okay. So, from my point of view, this is enough talking about this subject.
Alex and Harvey, where do you want to start? So I can put the documents share the documents.
I think complete the budget and then talk about management, or talk about the changes that management recommends.
Okay, so I'll the changes I'll put on the budget. Micha will put on when we get to it. Let me see. Content only. No. Presenter mode standard. Okay, screen. Oh. Sorry. Sorry. It is here. Share content. I hate Teams. Maybe it's here, Windows. Yeah. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Shall we go through it quickly, or you just want to read it and make comments?
I have one comment, of course, and that has to do with the role of Yair. I understand Yair is either employee or subcontracting services, financial, as you write, taxation, auditing, and so on. Therefore, I think that if somebody is on a contract with the company and acting as a CFO, even if it is not full time, as far as I know in Israel, it is never the case that such a person is on a board of directors.
Okay. The situation is as follows. Yuli, which you guys don't even know, but she's been working with us for more than a year. She's a CPA. And Yuli is, the termination in English is finance manager. Okay, and she's the lady that assisting Micha and assisted him all the last 12 months in preparing all the reports, the required reports, etc. Now, Yuli will be keep on doing all these things and running the day-to-day operations of the accounting departments. Yair is an advisor, okay, and it's been our advisor for a long time. We see a lot of value in Yair in certain issues and less value in other issues. And this is the best. We all think here that this is the best arrangement for the company at the moment, especially in its current financial position. And that's what we like to suggest.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think this arrangement is fine for now, but I think we should be looking to replace Micha sometime and get a proper full-time CFO. I think one of the shortcomings for the company has been, a lack of better kind of financial process integration into the rest of the company. And I think Micha was supposed to bring that. It's part of the reason why I think we don't have a proper ERP in place, and certain things just take longer than they should because we don't have that lens into the company. So I totally understand why we're doing this right now, but I think it would be good to get another full-time good CFO in place.
But they're not getting one. They're not getting a full. He's not a full-time Yair.
Yes, he is not. Look, I'd like to go along with Alex and say, first of all, I want to shed a bit more light on what's happening and what will keep on happening. There will be accounting quarterly reports as we do now. There will be monthly reports on cash, back orders, and sales, okay, in very well presented format. Now, this will continue now, even when Micha is not with us. And of course, then the yearly audit and all these sort of things. Separating the two main businesses of the company will be done only once a year, and Yair is the only one that can do it, except of Micha, of course, who will be no longer with us. And it will only change once we approve investing in a new management system. The new management system will be able to push reports by flick of a button or two, and then we'll be able to do it. But we can't do it right now. It requires a lot of work, and it will be done once a year in the end of the year. But all the others will be done on a quarterly basis and monthly basis.
We were promised certain monthly figures, and it's been 4 or 5 months, 4 months since the promise, and we don't receive the monthly sales.
Yes, you received them today. It's in front of you today.
It's supposed to be the 10th of the following month on a monthly basis.
Okay. It will be on the 10th on the following month. You will get it on the 10th of August.
Okay. Look forward to it.
You will.
Yeah, sorry, but I may not have been clear. I was talking about an officer of the company being on the board, which is not usually done. That's what, because the board has supervised the work of the management. So how can the management be on the board and supervise their work if we're talking about the CFO? That was my point.
So I agree with Jules, and in addition to that, I would say from a financial standpoint, both Alex and I have excellent qualifications in finance, and there's no reason to have an additional finance person on the board.
There is no finance person on the board.
A person who has a background in finance. I'm a CPA, an MBA, a CFA, and my qualifications are far better than Yair's.
Okay, that's great news. I'm very happy to hear it. In other words, you don't want Yair to be associated with the company, right?
No, he should be associated with the company. We're talking about whether it makes sense for him to be on the board. And Jules laid out exactly why he should not. And what I'm saying is his qualifications do not add value to the board, nor is it appropriate.
Yeah, but Julie does not speak English. She cannot be present at board level. She doesn't speak English.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, Itai, I think those are different issues. I think whether he is a member of the board or that he
He's not a member. No, Yair is not a member of the board.
I think that's fine then. I think Jules and Harvey's concerns is they don't think it's appropriate for Yair to join the board. So it's a different question. I don't think that one's
right.
That came from somewhere else.
We thought the proposal was for him to join the board.
No, he's for election. That's a different issue. Whether he'll be voted in or not, probably not. I don't think he really wants to. But on board meetings, he'll have to represent the finance department.
No, that's fine.
Okay, that's all it is. There's nothing else there. All right, can we move on?
Sure.
Yeah.
We've taken a lot of measures here to ensure that our purchases are done wisely and delivery of goods to our store are being approved by the COO or higher. Goods cannot come in anymore to Filter Safe without a stamp of approval from the COO. And this is just to make sure that we are controlling our cash and payment in a much better way. Digital department, we more or less decided to dissolve the digital department. Out of 3 personnel we had there, we are maintaining 1 person only, which will work under the operations to assist with digital issues. But now comes a very important discussion, is the NetSuite ERP system. This system is the dream of all of us, and it will really allow us to operate smoothly with Hong Kong, with Australia, and wherever we want to operate. There's only one little problem, that it's going to cost us about $450,000. Now, I would really like to hear your opinion on that.
I think we should find a way to pay for it. I think the ERP system is something that's much needed. It has to happen at some point. And this is the best time to implement it. when things are slower, and once things pick up and we get busier, it's harder to implement it. It takes longer. It's more expensive to the operations of the company as well to try to be implemented the ERP. So I would strongly support finding a way to pay for the ERP system and implement it this year.
What about you, Harry?
Yeah, I agree. I think the shipping cycle is turning up, and a year from now we're going to have our hands full. And so to have the proper structure in place to deal with these things is important.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I'll ask both Micha and Maayan to voice their view on this issue. At the management meeting, we've decided to postpone the implementation. Maayan and I talked about it the other day, and I said, look, let's put it to the board to make a decision. So it's very good to hear what you're saying. Maayan and Micha, would you like to say something regarding this $450,000 expense?
So I will say that it's not just the money. It will certainly cost around $500,000, but the company should be ready for it. And if we don't have a proper digital department and the right structure, the right management structure, a good management structure to implement that, the chances are not good to implement. I don't know if you're aware, but most of the ERP implementation projects are failing, and not because of the ERP system, and because of the company. So I'm not sure that this is the time when the management core of the company is not strong. It might be next year, maybe, but I think this is the issue, not the $500K bucks. The issue is the capability of the company to implement that, the new ERP system.
I think what Micha is trying to say that if we want to implement it, we might have to bring at least one more high-level person who will take over some of the operations in order to free Nurit to implement and to run with the implementation of the ERP system. Am I correct, Micha?
Yes, that's about it. Yeah.
So all together, we are probably looking at $550,000-$600,000 over a year. Big decision, huh?
Yes.
Big decision.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I would still support it. But Micha, to your point about management, it's just a resource issue. Is there any structural problems going on where it would result in the ERP system not being implemented properly?
So if you look at the structure, when you will not have a CFO in the next, let's say 6 months or so, and the COO just started 2 or 3 months ago and is not familiar with the company, and all the operational management structure is now rebuilt with new people. So I don't think that's a good time to implement ERP system when you don't have CFO and you have a new COO and you have all the CEO, and the CEO position is on and off. So I don't think the chances to succeed. I think the chances to fail are bigger than the chances to succeed. And that's something that I saw many times. in the past, that you have very good intentions, and you bring in and you put the resources, and then the company is not fit to the ERP system. It's not that the ERP is not good. Company has to be strong when you're doing this kind of process.
May I suggest a compromise here? May I suggest that we will delay to the end of the third quarter, which is starting now, and make a final decision then or towards the end of September?
One question: what is the time it take to implement the ERP system?
6 months. 6 months.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. I've been trying to.
Yeah, we can hear you, Mayan.
You were on mute, Mayan. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm still in the car. Can I just say, to me, this is a real sore point, the ERP system. It's something that we've known for a long time, which is a real Achilles heel. It's really, really frustrating. It makes it very difficult to work. But it doesn't make it impossible. And I think at this point, if there's something that I've learned in the last few months, personally, not, but I think the company as a whole can also see it. When you undertake too much at one time, and you exhaust your resources, things can start to get a little bit shaky. And at this point, I think that, if people want to suggest that we're shaky, it's not because of the lack of orders. It's because of the amount of projects that we have, the things that we're trying to undertake at one time. To add an ERP, for a lot of people, that's a really, really scary word. I think that if Micha was with us, then I'd be a lot more confident. When he's not with us, it's one less person to give very good direction and leadership. I have real confidence in the team that we have now. Ofer in a year's time, or in 6 months' time, 2 years' time, especially with Norit, is going to be very, very strong. We have senior people now that can make really good decisions and understand how things need to work. I'm more in favor of holding off until the end of the third quarter to see how the operations are holding up. I think that it's probably a wiser decision.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense.
3 separate product lines at one time, amongst a bunch of other issues, and to internally try and implement an ERP. I think that it's something that we need to have a discussion on. I think that we need to give Ofer 1 to 2 months to calm down. We've got to assemble 30 to 35 filters next month, which doesn't sound like a lot to you guys, but for the team that we've just dismissed, we've cut our workforce back. That's a lot of stress, and to implement an ERP at the same time is going to be very difficult.
Okay. Well, I completely understand. So, I thought this was a financial question. If it's a question of whether or not we can implement it at the time, obviously you don't want to implement it at the wrong time. And, a lot of times bringing in computer systems makes sense when you already know your processes, when you have your processes under control. It sounds like, there's a certain amount of time that you need to just get all that in place. And so I think it makes sense to plan on implementing an ERP and have people have that in mind as you, go about the way that you kind of structure the things that you do, so that when you do put an ERP system in place later this year or start to, that you're all set for that.
Okay, great. I think we're all in agreement.
Yes.
And that's probably the best compromise we can achieve.
I don't think it's a compromise. I think this is, that we all agree upon based upon the knowledge that we've shared. Yeah.
It's a compromise for the company, and it's a unanimous decision of us. Marketing, just for your information, our initial marketing budget was over $1 million for the year. What we are saying now is that we will finish the year with marketing expenses of under $500,000. We are doing some cuts there. and not just stopping campaigns, but also letting some people go. And that's more or less the bottom line. We have made serious cuts to the budgeting program.
That's great.
It's not so great, but that's what we had to do. I'm skipping Aqua HD. We might come back to it later. But look, the ballast water market, and it's part of the presentation that I prepared for you for the strategic plan. The fact is that we're at least 40-50% down on our forecasts. Many reasons for that, but this is the fact of life. And as you know, we made some very tough decisions, including letting Oded go. That's only one of the decisions we made. And we are trying to rebuild this division. Maayan can shed more light on it because he's got direct responsibility there. But we've more or less decided to continue our operations with Mark leading this department and doing some changes internally. And we believe we'll be in a good position to give better answers to the market. Maayan, do you want to add something to it, and then we can open the discussion? He's not with us.
No, I am. Sorry, I'm just still in the car. Yeah, look, I think that we've understood that our position hasn't improved over the last 18 months in ballast water. And we need to do a few key things to improve that and continue a few other things. So the project, the new filter, the smaller flow filter, the technology that goes around using the patent that we have for a screwless operation of the filter is really important. The other aspect of it is improving our image in terms of the multi-filters and the use of those screens. We probably need to change our tact again, or at least build on it further. At the moment, our most likely sources for sales are through our very well established and entrenched relationships with EcoClor and Denora, and also Irma First. We had a good meeting with Sunry, but it looks like they're going to be very slow to take us back on, or not as quick as what we would like. And Techros is obviously really positive. We're positive that, there's at least good reason to believe that we will have orders from them once the market turns for us. That's generally where we're at.
Can you tell us, Maayan, about the personnel?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously Oded is someone that has now left. So Mark is clearly in charge. One of the reasons that I was really clear about wanting to have Itai come back is because I think that we need more support. He needs someone here in Israel that can connect with the other departments and help promote and move projects like the redesign of the screen, like particular engineering change requests and orders. The personnel, we have some really good people.
Maayan, about the ballast water personnel.
Yeah. So we have Gabriella, who's going to take a stronger role in front of customers. It's more of a back office role, a support role, which is what we need. Mark is going to be promoting and using his network and connections with our customers. And we have obviously Richard in China still, which is something that we need to discuss. and monitor. If Sunray doesn't look like they're going to turn, then we might need to reconsider, what we're doing with Richard. That's basically where we're at. We're in a bit of a holding pattern. Just trying to keep everything together and try and promote these new aspects of our image, of our brand, of our ballast water business and filters.
So again, I'd like to understand something, if I may. We're talking about the redesign of the screens. My understanding is there was a welding problem that related to quality control issues. We've changed the type of steel we're using. And can you talk a little bit more about what was the driving force of the need to redesign the screen, or is it just the welding process that's redesigned? What is the main part of the change, and how does that address what's going on?
Okay. Yeah, sure, Harvey. So, first of all, you need to know that the market is being cheated, just generally speaking. What made FilterSafe great 6 years ago and 7 and 8 years ago, which is a filter that actually works and demonstrates the capability to filter during testing, that is no longer the most important point of a ballast water filter or design aspect of a ballast water filter. What's more important now is its robustness, and its or perceived robustness, I should say, it being perceived as an engineered solution. So, to answer your question, Harvey, there are 4 points in our screens which we know that we've had to answer. We have to answer on, and it's not particularly easy because we already have 3,500 installations. One was corrosion of the weld seam, which happened on multiple materials, but we're well and truly in control of that now. The other one is what we're calling pitting corrosion or crevice corrosion through rouging of the screen material, and that happens either across the screen or near an area of the screen that it was designed to not have any flow, which obviously accelerates corrosions when you have a lot of ferrite filings from these carbon steel pipes in ships. The third thing was we had some QA issues with the glue that we were using to connect the rims as part of the screen assembly. That's not really so much of an issue. And the last one is what we're calling screen deformation. And if you look at any one of those particular issues, you can deal with them. When you put all 4 of them together, the solution is very, very costly. And it's not even right to answer on them the way that the market is asking, but unfortunately we're not in a position that we can educate the market differently. So the Filtrex filter, for instance, which is our largest competitor now, they're using an inferior alloy 316L, which is not for seawater applications, but it's built like a tank, and it's made of perforated screens, and it covers the working mesh. We know the working mesh is disintegrating. We know that, but the ship owners don't really mind because they're more interested they're not interested in the ballast water system at all. So as long as the thing sits there and the water goes through it, and if they have to send a ship hand down to go clean it, they don't mind. So it's really very, very robust, but it doesn't work as well in the long term or for day-to-day operation. The screen deformation, if our screens are used, if our filters are used the way that we would like them to be used under a controlled condition, then there is no issue with the strength of our screens, and there is no screen deformation. But unfortunately, we can't control the 3,500 installations that we have, and a ship engineer the crew is operating the system as they see fit, and sometimes the systems are not installed correctly, and we're left to deal with the shit. I don't know how else to explain it, but there's definitely a difference in the expectation of the way that the screens and the filters should be used and the way they're being used.
I'd like to add here one more sentence. We were in a very fortunate situation in the earlier years when we sold thousands and thousands of filters. Now, a lot of these filters never went into operation because of the regulation that came into force only in 2018 or late 2017. Now, we are now 5 to 10 years from installation of filters, and yes, we do have problems. However, what works against us that our competitors don't have so many filters that have been around for such a long time. And we know that there are problems. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I spoke with Richard, our man in China. And you know that Sanui are now buying a lot of filters from Ball. And he says to me, Itai, you should know that they have a lot of clogging issues with the Ball filters. Okay? Now, for me or for us, it's not a big surprise, but it takes time for the market to find out what's going on. And there's a critical mass that is playing at the moment against us, but it will probably touch our competitors as well. So meanwhile, we are working on new generation filters and new solutions, and we are hoping to catch up. That's the idea of the whole thing, and it's costing us a fortune and a lot of efforts. But we are confident we will overcome these issues.
So we have a redesign now, right? Does this solve everything, or have we not completed the redesign?
We have not completed the redesign.
The redesign will be completed within the next 2 weeks, we hope. Some suggestions are out there already, and we talk to customers about them. A final decision will be made by, I hope, by mid-August. The redesign is one thing, and it will be accompanied with another solution to go with our filters, like non-return check valve, etc., etc. But the final word on it will be hopefully in 2 weeks' time.
Okay, so filters you're selling now under the older design, if I'm a customer, how do I take that knowing that there are these issues?
Well, the issues are not with all customers, and the issues are not with all filters. They are mainly with our multi-filters. And at the moment, we are selling them only 904L screens, which corrosion-wise on this weld thing had been resolved. That's why we are but what you said is very, very correct, Harvey, and we are trying very hard to speed it up and come up with something that will be applicable immediately and will resolve all the issues.
The thing here is again, expectation. The market expectation is to have a robust filter that looks like the German, European filters. That's what a ship has. If you look at any filter, whether it's a fuel filter, anywhere, they're all big chunky pieces of metal. And our filter is finer. You know, it actually filters and it works and it cleans. It's an automatic filter, not just a filter that then has to be manually cleaned every now and again. Unfortunately for us, we now realize that this is the case. To re-educate the market, it takes time and it takes money. That's why there was $1 million in marketing. It wasn't just to make pretty pictures. It was the idea was that we were going to go and start to talk directly to the owners, the operators, the people who touch us and design the systems, and start to build a relationship with the marine community around seawater filtration, which up until now doesn't really exist. You need to understand that, guys, that there is no such thing as a 1,000 cubic meter seawater filter up until now. It just doesn't. It hasn't been in mainstream shipping. So all these ship
I think that's awesome.
Sorry?
I think that's great that people get educated, but it does concern me what you said earlier, that a lot of people actually don't care. So you can educate them about it, but they'll, if their attitude is, I actually don't care whether or not I'm filtering it, I just want the thing to not break, then, it seems like there's an extra step that needs to go in there, which is how do we make sure they care? And I think there's another piece that you were talking about in the last call, or was it Mark, who said we're engaging. Maybe I had this conversation with Itai. You are engaging with other high quality filter manufacturers to make sure that, or to have some kind of process to make sure that filters are working, that this becomes, part of the operations and inspection and the work of the IMO, to make sure that filters don't just pass tests, but to actually function in the real world.
Yeah, so that goes under the banner of operational compliance. And I think that that's one of the big draw cards of having someone like Mark at FilterSafe is that we can start to promote and push and be thought leaders, in that space, and try and affect the way the market looks at this, because we don't want the ballast water, to sunset, and then for people to start to worry about operational compliance. It's not going to help us. All the capex is gone. So we need people to be aware of that situation sooner rather than later.
Is Mark's relationship strength more with the owners of ships or more with the shipyards?
My understanding, I don't want to answer on his behalf necessarily, but he has a very, very long-standing relationship, as the general manager of Hyde Marine. So he knows a lot of ship owners. He's very, very close with ship owners, especially, but I'm sure he also knows a lot of shipyards as well.
So the reason I'm asking is, the question is the weight of the decision to choose a ballast water system ultimately goes to the owner of the ship, but the shipyards have great sway over that decision making. If I'm a shipyard and I say we've done all these installations and we're using supplier X, we work well with them and we have issues with others, that sways the owners tremendously. So it would seem to me that Mark, his relationship is with the owners. Are we sufficiently covering the shipyards who may have equal or more sway with the final decision process?
I'd like to answer that and say that the shipyards in general is our enemy. The big shipyards have their own systems, and that's what they are pushing. They have no interest at all to suggest using X, Y, or Z as a system. They want to install their system. It's the ship owner who says to them, no, I don't want your run-of-the-mill ballast water system. I want the one that is produced in my country or is related to whoever, whatever reasons. So it's the ship owner who makes the decision. That's why our marketing campaigns are also aimed more towards ship owners and engineers, etc., and less for the shipyards. But the shipyards always want to push their own system. It's like Samsung have their own system, Hyundai, all these big shipyards, they have their own system, and that's what they're trying to push. And they are always cheaper than anybody else. Now, I want to add one more thing, which is not connected directly, but is connected to the ballast water. I think if any of you guys think that we'll be able to come back to where we were in 2019 is false expectation. We all have to understand that within 3 to 4 years, the ballast water will be dwindling down quite dramatically. And the emphasis of business have gone away from the west to the east. It's the eastern companies that are getting most of the orders, except of one western company, which is Alfa Laval. They still maintain their strengths, but all the others are on the way down. And they found it very, very difficult to compete. And take, for example, EcoClor or De Noa, two very large, previously large ballast water vendors. They found it very difficult to win orders, and they are only winning the special orders, which are good for us, but the numbers are not there. It's not the same as we were in 2019. So that's something for us to bear in mind. I really think that we should realize and see realistically what's going on in the ballast water market.
Okay. Is it that Sunrui was mostly the multi-filters and that's why they have been a particularly big problem?
Yes, exactly. Sunrui are selling systems from 1,500, 2,000 cubic meters upward, chlorination systems, and they've been using the multi-filters, and now they're using something similar from Ball.
I would like to say something about the strategy of the company after hearing the forecast of the ballast water sales figures and the potential there. Actually, this company is now completely changing, or should be changing the focus indeed of its sales.
Jules?
Yeah.
Jules, I think we'd established a protocol where you would just raise your hand if you had something to say. So just if
well, I just raised it once to ask if I have the right to talk. So I'll raise my hands. Is it okay now?
Yes, you may.
It's a little bit awkward. Anyway, so I try to say that if the figures of 2019 will not return, we don't know how much will be sold in ballast water. The whole company actually, like a heavy boat, should turn around in a certain percentage or great, percentage of their activities, and indeed, the strengths of the company and its abilities today should be analyzed in order to understand to what extent the company has its management in place, the right people, its expertise in place to cope with the future. I'm just saying it in general terms, but it becomes so clear after what I heard of the potential sales in ballast water.
Yeah, okay. I'll answer it very quickly. If you have a good look at the presentation I prepared for today, and it looks like we won't have time to talk about it today, that's exactly what it's about. It's a continuation of our 3-year-old decision to find other markets and to spread our wings to other markets. We always had internal discussions here whether we should do it, not do it in such a way or different way. And this is now the reality. We definitely need to go to these areas. We are going there. And I think we'll reap the benefits of this move very, very soon in 2022.
Okay.
However, at the same time, we need to adjust our operations to the sales level, because getting back to 50 million is not going to happen in 1 year, and you can see it in the projections. All right.
Another question is, are we going to talk about the budget?
Well, we are now going through the management decisions, so let's move through it very quickly and try to finalize it, and then we'll be able to move to the budget. Here it is. Look, I'll just touch base on these things, and if you guys want to make comment, please do. We've decided to approve the finalization of the BSU unit. This is the smaller ballast water filter. The 350,000 is in the budget, and we need to do it in order to sell smaller ballast water filters. The certification of this unit will be finished by the end of August, and then it's really up to us to sell it, and we'll see how we go with that. I'm moving very good. 1, 2, 3 years. Doesn't matter. We'll talk about it later. We have, since the beginning of the year, we had to part ways from 20 to 25 people in Israel and Hong Kong. The final move was a week ago when we announced all these names that you see here. Most of them have gone already. And that's, of course, in order to, as I said before, to adjust the level of operations to the sales that we can get at the moment. Overseas sales as well. That's Marianne's jurisdiction, and most of the people that we have, like Patricio in Chile, Alexander in Brazil, in Germany, Ralph, etc., we are changing all the agreements with them in order to cut costs. We simply have to do it. Marianne Water is the company that we acquired with the Azud filters. It didn't work as well as we were hoping. We now made a decision that they'll keep on going their own way. We own them 100%, but they're running their own operations, and their target is not to lose money this year, and let's wait and see. We are hoping they'll be able to achieve it. So they're neutral in the game of financials here. That's it. There is an issue here, but maybe it's not the time to talk about whether we want to get new investors into the company. I don't know if you guys want to talk about it now. So really, if we want to see the budget, we should move to it right now.
I think if this is a time to talk about getting new investors in, I think that there are some existing investors who would like to get out, and maybe we should just see if, I think we don't need a lot of money probably, because it sounds like you have access to bank lines, but I think at least we should see if those who want to get out are willing to get out at the kind of valuation which is at the table right now, a realistic valuation. And that we might take, in addition to that, take a little bit of money into the company.
All right. So, okay. Look, I'm talking to certain people here in Israel. The discussions with Tenet didn't proceed at all. They're too busy to talk to us, but we're talking to others. And I'd like to suggest, Harvey, it's your call. James Adducci have called me last week, and he said he just completed a deal for Amiad in the U.S., and he wanted to know if we are still interested to talk to him. So I explained to him that we had a decision that you are looking after these investors, and we also made a decision that we'll revisit this decision toward the end of the third quarter. But if you like, maybe you want to give him a call and just touch base and see maybe there's something interesting there.
Okay, I'm happy to do it.
Okay, great. All right. Shall we move into the numbers?
Yes.
Okay, Micha, can you take over?
I can certainly try.
Well, I'll try to stop sharing. Here, I'm up. Sorry. Oh, it's very hard, this thing. Actually, I think I stopped.
I don't have now the share option.
You don't?
Which I had before you did something.
Okay, so maybe it's here. What about now?
You need to give me maybe a permission to share, or you can share it yourself.
Share content. Hang on. Where do I do it? I hate Teams. Call meeting, non-gallery together, gather, focus, full screen, about turn on live, turn stop recording. live. Can you do it now, Micha?
No, I don't have a share option. Or maybe you want to share the screen yourself, and I will speak.
That's all right. I just need to find which one do you want to show now.
The 5 years plan, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it this way. Here it is. Can you see it, gentlemen?
No.
You don't see?
No.
Oh, okay. Screen. Okay. Now you should be able to do it. Or you should be able to see it. Can you see this now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we saw it last time, and everybody received it. And if you have any questions or things you want me to speak about, please do.
I raised my hand, so I would like to get permission to ask a question.
Yes, please do.
Go ahead.
Since you prepared this months ago, because it is the same figure that we got in, I don't remember exactly, there's no date on it, so I don't remember. Question is, it is still valid today? I mean, now we are already at the end of July, and you reported that in total about 10.4 million are sales up to date. That's the figure that was written detailed in the material that Hadar sent. Sales year to date 10.4, ballast 7, spare parts 1.8, non-ballast 1.6, and back orders 5.4. So my question is, and also looking at these first tech cross and so on, a lot of these orders may not be delivered physically to the customers till the end of the year. So my question is, if the 20.4 million sales for 21 is still valid?
I'd like to answer that. Nothing is guaranteed in life, but we believe we can achieve it. We have there is a list there that I've put out for you guys on the email, and you'll see that there's quite a lot in there. And just for example, in the last 10 days, we received orders from Ermafers ranging between $800,000 to $1 million, and they're not on the system yet. Okay. So we believe it is possible, but there's no guarantee we'll be able to get to it.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm simply worried about, and then the question is also, are you able to use the inventory that you have, because that has to do with the cash flow also, as Micha indicated in the last meeting. To what extent?
Okay. The answer is very simple. We are doing the best we can, and we are doing quite a lot to use stocks that we have. And unfortunately, the customers, they have this nasty habit to order things we don't have. But we are really putting a lot of effort into it and trying to do modifications if necessary, etc., just in order to supply something we have in stock.
Yeah. Okay, because that will affect the cash flow, as Micha indicated also in the last meeting. The last question is on if this is the budget, if you take in consideration the question about write-offs, as we talked about Aqua HD, perhaps inventory, is that in the budget? Is that in the 2020 figures or 2020 report?
So Aqua HD is not in the budget. You know, as you said before, we prepared it a few months ago, and it was still not clear then whether we will acquire the company, start to build it, acquire the 100% of the company and put money in it, or close it. So we didn't know if we're going to write it off in 2020 or not. We or the company will have to decide in the next few weeks if the company would like to write off the investment in Aqua HD. So it's not in the numbers. The company pretty much is closed, and it's not there is no leak of money there.
But Micha, you know, according to the accounting principles, the auditors will request the company to write it off then in 2020. Those are the accounting principles. You cannot play around with that.
Well, I think we'll have to discuss it with BDO, and which we would have done anyway. We are going through a procedure trying to obtain the IP, and it's also handling legal procedures. As I told you before, and I'll say it again, our partner there, Terra Ventures, is not playing ball. And really, this is the only way out now, is to dissolve the company and hopefully to acquire the IP. And we will have to consult BDO and say that, see what they think.
Jules, like a month or two ago, we thought, and we had a negotiation with Terra to buy their shares with, for zero amount, and then to keep the company alive. So that's why we didn't write it off, but we might. Now we might in the next few weeks.
So that will affect the 2020 figures. I just remind everybody of it because it is a material amount. Okay. Okay.
Any other questions, guys, about the summary of the budget? I can tell you that our half-yearly losses are about 1.6 million. Am I correct, Micha?
I don't really know. I know just the numbers for the first quarter, which was around 750, let's say. And it might be. I don't have the inventory count for the end of the second quarter yet, so I don't know the numbers.
Okay. Which is more or less in line with our projections for a substantial loss this year. Alex, any comments, and do we have time to move to our really, I think, most important chapter of the meeting?
I have no further comments on this, so we can move forward.
Okay. How long you're with us, Alex?
I'll the time that it takes. That's cool.
You have to go.
No. Whatever it takes, I'll stay with you.
Okay.
This is important. So.
All right. Good. I'll share. Oh shit! Where is it? Here. Windows. Sorry. Why I can't see it now? Here. Okay. This is really summarizes a lot of effort the company have put into strategic plans with Deloitte. We have sent you all the reports from Deloitte, but this short presentation is really designed to, I'll put it in this mode so you can see better. Summarizes what we think the company should be doing for the next 2-3 years. Okay, so these are facts. Okay, and trying to put some framework into what's happening. Did you guys have a chance to have a look at it? I know Jules did because he commented on the last one.
Yeah.
So I'll move very quickly. The current position is that sales are down 2020 and 2021. The ballast water market is down. The Western ballast water vendors are facing tough competition from the Eastern vendors. Prices and margins are shrinking. FilterSafe is expected to show a loss this year. Now, I have put here, if you have a look here at this orange thing, this is a slogan that I took from one of our employees, and which I think make a lot of sense. You know, really, the advantage of FilterSafe is in markets where filtration results can be measured, and that applies to very specific markets. Does not apply for the overall day-to-day markets of many other companies. So, after really spending 6 months with Deloitte, and the company, the management have put really a lot of effort into it, and they did a fairly good work in summarizing and putting the work in very presentable presentations. We have decided to identify certain markets, okay, and here, oil and gas, primary filtration for desalination projects. In the desalination, there are 2 applications. There is what we call first stage filtration of about 150 micron. We already sold 2 or 3 of these systems in the world. I forgot to put the other one of desalination. I'll come back to it in a minute. High-end irrigation markets, Australia, and Australia is going to be a very good investment for us next year. We believe our sales there will be 4 times higher than our expectation. We have there already quotations for about $3 or $4 million, and we are winning now orders. Our problem is to supply, and we are putting a lot of efforts into it. That's an operational problem that we hope to overcome. Light industry applications such as cooling towers, process plants, etc. We have several orders, or we always had orders, but we keep on getting these orders. And the main market that I think, and I think I told, at least Alex knows about it, I believe this will be the next ballast water thing for us, is fine filtration of 15 to 20 micron in desalination projects, replacing cartridge filters. And just to let you know that we have now a project with IDE. There is a new desalination plant to be built in Western Galilee, about a stone's throw away from us. And IDE are going with our solution. And we see how we go. It's still early days. But if we win it, it will be a $3 million order, and then there'll be a 10-year contract, service contract on it. The most important bit here, if we will win the order, the money, of course, important, but the most important is that we will get world recognition for this new innovative technology, which and we will have no competition for quite a while. Another market is the UV ballast water. It's the BSU filter. I don't know if you know that, but let's say that there are anything between 10 to 20,000 retrofit vessels to be installed in the next 3-4 years. Our problem is that 70% of the larger vessels have already, which is our traditional market, have already installed systems. And a lot of these vessels, let's call it 12,000 vessels, are actually smaller flow rates, which really suits the BSU solution. So the BSU, we believe, will be our way back to the ballast water market. I'm just reminding you that 3 systems, smaller systems, equates to 1 large system we used to sell. So the numbers will not be the same as in previous years, but they should improve once the BSU had been ratified by the class societies, which we hope to happen within the next 6 to 8 weeks. We are renewing discussions with Sunwood. Nothing to report yet. We have visited Irma First last week. It was a very fruitful meeting. The relations are very good. They do have some expectations from us. We now have a clearer view of what needs to be done in order to win some of the market back. So, and we can see it, after the visit, they told us they are going to place orders for quite a lot of filters, ranging between $800 to $1,000 to $1 million. And we are still making very special efforts with Techos. The first big order had been placed already, and they are telling us that other orders are on the way and are coming very soon. They are eating into a stock that they bought from us last year, and as soon as that dwindles down, there will be more orders. So that's more or less summarizing what we want to concentrate on. Now, the options available to FilterSafe in operations. Of course, we already talked about it. Okay, so it's a reduction in human resources, reducing the cost of operations in Hong Kong. We've already done that, or we are doing it now, although we didn't get a board approval for that. But it's something we have to do to cut costs in Hong Kong. We are streamlining the internal operations here. We talked about it already. Emphasis on cost reduction and purchasing power, that's something we are putting a lot of effort into it. Better scrutiny of payments to suppliers, postponing the new screen factory, that's an important part. And I just can't see where we will bring $800,000 now to set up the factory, and it will have to be put in similar category as the ERP. We'll have to revisit it again within the next 3 months or so. The next one is the NetSuite. We already made a decision about it. Blah, blah, blah. I think we have talked about all these issues, so I'm jumping forward. A result of the strategic...
Itai, can I ask you a question? You mentioned that in meetings with Irma First, you got the information that you needed about what you need to do in order to win the business. I was curious what that was.
All right. They're asking for 2 things. First of all, they want us to maintain prices, which are fairly low, but it's something we have to do in order to eat into our stock. And they are asking us to come with a final solution, excuse my language, for Jewish people, final solution doesn't sound good, but for the screen issue. And we already discussed alternatives with them, and we had a meeting today about it as well. We are waiting on some more suggestions from the engineering department, and another meeting will take place within the next 10 days. And I hope very much that we'll be able to recommend something robust, not too expensive, that will do the trick to overcome the problems that we talked about.
Itai, do these contracts have cost escalators? In other words, if your price of steel goes up 20%, do you have to eat that?
Unfortunately, with orders in hand, yes. And that's a big thanks for that comment, Harvey, because the cost is going up all the time, quite dramatically, and it's not just logistics. Raw materials prices are going up everywhere, and it's something we really have to deal with. I don't have an answer for you right now, but we are spending time on it. We are reviewing it, and it's something sooner or later we'll have to bite the bullet and make decisions. As you know, a container that used to be $4,000 or $5,000 from China to Israel is now 3 times that, sometimes even 4 times. And there is a big impact on our business. And if stainless steel material is going up by 20% on quotations that we have now, Iran tells me yesterday that, they're getting quotations for stainless steel valves from suppliers for a specialized project. And I said to him, the quotation is for 1 week. That's it. After 1 week, you'll have to quote again. Now, what do you do when you deal with Samsung or you deal with somebody in high-level company? It's a big issue. It is a big issue.
So I think the choice is when the order is made, you have to lock in the orders for the parts, or you have to have contracts which have escalators. It's one or the other. Otherwise, you're too exposed to market.
I fully accept what you're saying, Harvey. I fully agree. I think this will have to be the solution, because really how long we can not make enough money.
Yeah.
Okay, we are vulnerable at the moment and we really want to post sales, etc., which is very important. But in the end of the day, we have to show some profits.
Let me just say that we have done that with the IDE project for next year. We have
yes.
studied.
Yeah, with IDE we have requoted our quotation, and they were not happy, but we are still in there.
But it is there are terms there of cost escalators based on, I can't remember what the index was, but everyone took care of it.
Yeah. This graph that you see here is very important for you to look at. I'm not sure it's 100% correct, and if we would have done the strategic work with somebody else, the number would have been different. But let's talk about what we see here. The ballast water market is estimated to be around 200 million. It could be 150 million. Nobody really knows. Irrigation market is easier to assess because it's a traditional market and it's not fluctuating a lot. And, in the potable water, there's $137 million. And again, it takes into account a lot of different type of filters, not all of them applicable to us. Anyway, we spent a lot of time on it and a lot of discussions and meeting. And as I said, we believe that the markets we identified in the slide before are the markets we should go with and concentrate on. These markets are paying higher value or higher prices for products, and these markets can appreciate quality and performance. This is the summary of these markets, and again, the numbers here are estimates only. But if we are looking at the low flow at ballast water market, we are talking, and we will succeed, we are talking anything between $2 to $10 million within the next 3 years. The multi-filters is 10 to 20 million. And the medium-sized filters are 36-inch filters, is 5 to 10 million. This is our most successful filter. The customers love it. It's very economical, and we also make good margin. We are making good margins on this product. In the non-ballast, we have the Trident. The Trident is a new stainless steel filter that it's one filter body that can accommodate 3 types of cleaning mechanism, and we estimate its potential market between $2 to $5 million within the next 2 years, 2-3 years. We have another filter which is called Titan. I hope you like our names. Which is a stainless steel heavy-duty filter designed for higher pressures, more challenging operations, and we see, in Australia at least, we see a lot of success with it. The customers really like it. We have another product that calls Leviathan or Leviathan in Hebrew, the same word by the way, is a brush filter. It's a humongous filter. It's got a brush mechanism in it. We sold 3 of these units already, including one large unit to Russia. And the BS series are traditional run-of-the-mill filters, also have some applications, but maybe they should be combined with what we call the Titan series, because they're slightly different. So this is what we are expecting we can achieve within the next 2 years, these sort of numbers. Here is a picture of these new products. This is what we call the Trident. Here is the BSU. You can see it's a much smaller filter. We designed it that the inlet and the outlet are interchangeable with Filtrex, our competitor. It's much simpler driving mechanism. We call it one motion filter. So far, it's been very successful in field trials, and within the next 2-3 weeks, we will have the results from our certification process in DHI in Denmark. The Leviathan looks like this. It's a big body, big busted, and it's designed for high flows, coarse filtration. And this is what we call the Titan, made of stainless steel and really designed for high-end non-ballast applications, mainly with Chinese and Korean customers, but not only.
Leviathan, what do you mean by coarse filtration?
500 microns upwards. Actually, to be more, probably 1,000 microns up to 10,000 microns. I'll go back to it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It's a coarse filtration, okay? And this is the business plan summary. You've seen it before. It's almost the same. There's a little variation here. Micha showed you $3 million loss. I'm showing 2.9 million, but it's more or less the same. And this graph should be interesting, I think, because the graph shows, the red one really shows what's going on now, down, down, and that's what we are expecting to achieve. Here is the breakdown. This is ballast water. We're still going to be our largest business for the next 3 years. We have, the spare parts, and then we have the non-ballast here. The blue line is showing operating profits, okay? And it corresponds to the chart that you see on the left-hand side. And I think really in the end of the day, we have to adjust our operations to the sales we are achieving and hoping to achieve. This is the name of the game now, and that's what I need the board support for, to assist us doing it and bring the company back into profitable line, which I believe we will achieve next year in 2022. Any comments?
I appreciate the work that the company is doing and has been doing over the last while to kind of diversify beyond the ballast water space. It's encouraging to hear about IDE, and it sounds like you feel like we've won that business, and I think that that's an important first step in what could be a critical market for, or a key market for the company. This comment that you made about setting up the company, the operations of the company for what we're actually doing in terms of sales and what we hope to do, I think it's a very good comment, and I would put the emphasis on what we, would expect or hope to do, because I think, you need to think about where we're going and make sure that we've set up the operations for success in the areas that we really believe that we can execute on and get into. So I would not focus on, obviously we care about profitability and cash flow today, but what's really important is how do we make sure we set ourselves up for success over the next 3 years, I would say. That's very much how I would suggest that you look in terms of aligning the operations of the company.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, later on, if you have a minute, gentlemen, have a look embedded in the invitation, the email invitation. There is a table of different projects that we are dealing with right now. And you'll see that there are some very interesting things there. And, I can't guarantee we'll win them all, but we are in there, and we are in very prestigious projects worldwide, and we are being accepted. We just need to convert, and that's, of course, a lot of pressure on Mayan, Mark, and Eran, and the team there. On all of us, of course, but we still cannot go anywhere. Corona is still there. The Corona is causing a lot of problems to the company, and in many, many aspects, not just the ability to attend meetings and talk to people, but also indirect effects of people sitting at home ordering goods from Amazon and others, and shipping costs are going up 4 times, and ship owners don't want to go to dry dock and install a ballast water system. It was really hard to predict, and I'll say again what I always say, that when Micha, Mayan, and I had a meeting back in 2020, when suddenly we realized that there is a coronavirus that is impacting the world, and Micha said to us, and he was correct, he said, guys, we really don't know how it's going to impact the business. And perhaps some of the things we are doing now we should have done then, but there were a lot of hopes that things will turn better. and they didn't. And at least we are doing quite a lot of things now in order to turn the situation around.
I think one thing that would be helpful is to make sure that we're in these meetings, we are keeping track of where is the industry, actual volumes in the industry going, because it feels to me that at some point, either new builds or retrofit market has to come back. Right now, there's still a continued lull where both are not happening a lot, but we do expect that the industry is going to be having a lot more new builds coming on, and especially if they're waiting and running these ships into the ground, we should be seeing a new build market coming back, I would think, at some point. And although I understand not as strong as the old retrofit market was.
Well, you are correct. We've been doing it in the past by mainly leaning on personal knowledge that we have, and also on the Clarkson report. Nir is no longer with us, and Nir did prepare quite a lot of reports for the Clarkson, and now Mark is on it. But I agree, we should really stay very close as possible to the market and sense what's going on. I think we are doing it. We recognize our faults, we recognize our problems, and we recognize where the potentials are, and we are reacting to it. Perhaps we should have done it a year earlier, but it's always like crying over spoiled milk. It's not going to help us now. But we are on track, and we need to keep on monitoring the situation very closely.
Yeah, I would keep in mind that Harvey is a shipping expert and has ties into, probably other analysts in the industry, and may be able to. I mean, certainly, I think he's a good person to continue to share that information with, and maybe he might have some contacts and data points that might be helpful.
Yeah, Harvey is sending from time to time reports he comes across, and a lot of them we hear from other sources. Some of them are new. Yes. I think the secret, though, is really to build the trust again with our customers, especially with Erma-First. I don't know if with Sunwood we will succeed, but Tekros is also a very important part of it. And Mark is now going through an extremely important process, getting very close to Alfa Laval. And we are putting a lot of hopes into it with the BSU unit. They're telling us they'll be ordering 100 filters the first year, maybe 150 filters, to see how we're going. So we need to prepare for all that.
Historically, they've not been very friendly to us. I remember back to the early years, so I'm sure it took a lot of work to convince them psychologically to change.
Well, I think we've done that already. We have firm commitments from the top people that are very interested, and they will be buying this filter once it's certified. They know what it's all about. They know they can interchange it with Filtrex, and they know the pricing is right. For our point of view, the pricing is not right, but from their point of view, it's a very good price. So,
what percentage of your business do you meet Filtrex in competition?
Sorry, Harvey, say it again.
Yeah, how much of your business do you go head to head with Filtrex? They're the largest in the industry, right? So.
Well, they are largest in terms of number of filters they are selling. No question about that. Maybe also financially, but I don't have enough data to tell you, but yes. Well, we are competing with them at the moment on flow rates from 1,000 cubic meters upwards, and they're getting up to 1,500. They're trying to sell also higher flow rate filters. There's not great success there for them. That's because they don't have the customers to apply these large units. So really, they're aligned with the smaller, medium-sized, smaller-sized flow rate customers. And we're going to go head-to-head with them now with the BSU. It will be direct competition to Filtrex. And hopefully we'll be able to get market share there.
Yeah.
Look, I'll try to put it from a different angle. Let's say that there are 12,000 retrofit vessels. Let's divide them into 4 years, okay? So it's 3,000 vessels a year. And let's assume that 80% of these vessels are smaller flow rates. So it's 3,000 by 0.75, say. It's 2,250 filters.
Right. I was just wondering, you guys are the two market leaders in the industry. If at some point an M&A solution or consolidation to the industry might not make sense because the margins are subpar.
Well,
maybe this market specifically, not necessarily all filtration markets.
Look, Filtrex is a family-owned company. The guy who established it, his name is Luigi, a very nice fellow, which I have direct contact with. They are not interested to sell. They are there to stay. They want to feed their family for generations to come, and they want to maintain the name Filtrex. He told me that many, many times. Alfa Laval gave them a very good offer, and they turned it down. And Amiad tried to break a deal with them, and they told them to look for their friends elsewhere. So I'm not sure it's realistic.
Well, it doesn't have to be an outright sale. You could always merge that specific business and each own a percentage of the business and share the benefits of the cost synergies from having greater economies of scale. So when you do these things, it's not necessarily just an either or. I'm a buyer, you're a seller, or something like that. There are other solutions that, create more profits for everyone over time.
All
right. Fair comment. Something to think about.
Harvey, I think the Bowl filter is probably, a better fit. Not just for ballast water, also outside of ballast water.
Right. I'm just thinking you guys have strength in different markets. They're the small filter guys, you're the large guys. But now you're looking to compete head to head, which generally doesn't have a good impact on margins. So, I'm not necessarily saying this is the way to go, but if that, the ballast water businesses of the two companies were together, right? And let's say, I don't know what the relative revenues are, potential is, let's say it was a 60-40 split, who was ever larger. And then, you have economies of scale in production, and then you're not competing head to head. And then all of a sudden it's far more profitable for both companies, and, there's less industry competition, which always makes sense.
It's something to think about. At the moment, they've got the upper hand.
Yes.
But once they realize that we are launching the BSU, it might open channels for discussions. But we need to really dig into it and see where we can benefit from one or two agreements or whatever type of agreements. We need to do some work on it, yeah.
Yeah, look, if I were them and you enter the small filter market, obviously the first thing they're going to do, they have higher volume, is they may respond by cutting price, but the second thing they'll do is try to respond by being more aggressive in the larger filter market in response, right? So, these are things you have to think about. So maybe, after you introduce the filters and they do respond, then the conversation can take place.
I think it will be difficult for them to compete on the higher flow market due to their technology, unless they change the technology completely. It's like for us, it wasn't easy to develop a low flow filter and whatever. So, but look, it's an interesting twist here. Yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, are we going to get copies of the minutes from the board meetings?
Of course. I think you already got it. Of the minutes. Yes, you will. Just to let you know, the last meeting was recorded. We sent it to somebody to write it down, and she said she wanted $40 for it, and she said, I can't do it. I can't understand all the accents. So, but then we found somebody. But listen to the story. It's a funny story. And then we found somebody in Pakistan, and he's done a good job. I just received it this morning back. And I will send you the last one today or tomorrow. And the question is whether you want to go through all the blah blah we are talking in the meetings or just bullets. If we want it in bullets, I have to invest some time in it.
Well, in the meantime, we can take the blah blah and see if it's reasonable.
All right. So that's easy. So I'll send you the last one straight away, and this one once we get the transcripts, we see how we go.
Okay, and I think I have to bring up, finally we have to straighten this out with board fees. It's a board decision, and if you want to, you're behind on 6 months, and we shouldn't be the only people who are taking the hit here.
Alex, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I think in terms of board fees, I think last year we made the decision to suspend directors' fees for a year, and I think it makes sense to continue this year. But with management taking a cut on its fees, I think the board members should take a similar cut. So that's what I would recommend.
All right. I did say to Harvey privately, and I can tell you here as well, that we are considering cutting wages of the top manager or management in FilterSafe by a certain percentage. We haven't made a decision about it, and we might have to resort to it very soon. Yeah. Look, I just think that the board fees, it equates to about 45,000 or slightly more a year, is a wage of 2 employees here that we let go. And we need these employees. And I just can't see a reason why to do it. I honestly cannot see why we should pay our board members for the effort.
It's simple because, we have bills to pay just like you, and if you're going to cut your salary by X percent, we're happy to do the same, but we shouldn't take a disproportionate hit just because, that's an arbitrary decision. There's no reason for that.
Okay.
I work very hard for this board.
All right. I was staying at home for the last 3 months and not doing very much. All right. I really wouldn't like to change the decision we made. Maybe Alex, maybe you and I should talk about it again.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about it offline.
All right.
But I think it makes sense for people who are putting in the work to get paid something. So yeah. So anyway, let's chat.
All right. Anything else, gentlemen, or we can call it a day?
Okay.
I think one last question that I have is, just to Maayan's point about it's hard to do a lot of things well. I know there's a lot of different kinds of efforts happening in the non-ballast water sales, and I just want to sense from you guys whether you feel like this is, the multiple directions that we're heading is at a level that you think that you can handle as an organization and do well.
Maayan? He's gone.
Is that directed to me or is that directed to Itai?
Either of you, whoever has a kind of a first reaction or a stronger reaction.
So,
both of you.
Look, I have a lot of energy and a lot of patience, and you guys don't know me as well as well, some of you don't know me as well as others. That's the point here. I'm trying to take a step away from senior management, the CEO role, and trying to put my energy towards completing the things that need to be complete to make sure that we have that success in 2-3 years' time. So I feel confident in all the things that we've spoken about today, whether it be the screens, whether it be the BSU filter, whether it be ensuring the operations are better set up, whether it be ensuring the team in Australia get their 58 filters in the next 3 months. That's what I want to focus on. So I think that we're in the right. I think we're balanced. If Itai takes responsibility and takes the senior role, then we get more hands on deck, which is the right way to go. And we're already committed, Alex. We're so far in with all these things. They've taken longer than what we expected. It hasn't been easy, but we're almost there. By the end of the year, we'll be there.
Okay. All right.
ERP really, it kills me. I know that we need it, but I think that really Michael, his comments were spot on. That to add that right now would probably tip us. We need to just get a few wins on the board, and then we'll look at that one too.
Okay. Good.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye. Bye.